Like all those like podcasts with those guys, they're like, ugh, fear.
Fear is a mindset. Lock in at the gym. I'm
Okay.
sorry, guys.
I didn't expect you to do that.
Welcome to the Point of View podcast. My name's Uyiosa.
And my name's Osatohamen.
And here we are today for another episode.
Yeah, we're so excited to be here again and ready to talk about today's episode.
Yeah, for sure. Today's episode is not very different from what we've been talking about, but I feel like it's a very relatable one. It's like the struggles that no one really talks about, but we all go through or everyone has. It's kind of one of those things where it's like no one likes to talk about their struggles, but it's like we all go through it, so might as well just put it out in the air and discuss it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And before we jump into it, should we talk about our week?
Yeah. It's been a long week, and it's only Thursday. Wow. Like, it should be Friday, but it's Thursday.
It is Thursday.
You go first.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Every time we do this, I'm like, what do I do in my week? I feel like everything just like blurs together and it's just like things happen.
Literally nothing.
We could talk about Tuesday. We went to Texas Roadhouse and honestly the worst service we've ever had at a Texas Roadhouse. We've been to Texas Roadhouse is one of our family's favorite restaurants, but it was probably like the worst thing. Like everything was burnt, slow service, and funny enough, Yosa, you in your senior year.
Oh yeah, we have the senior assassin thing. I don't. Most people probably heard of it. We call it Water Wars, but like I guess people call it senior assassin. And it's like you have to kill people with a water gun. And so like I signed up with my friends for it, and so it started on Tuesday. And so like the only protection you can have is to have two floaties on your arm, or like you either have to kill the other person. And so I knew like there's no way, because you have to record it. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to record it and shoot them. And I was like, my floaties aren't coming the next day. So I didn't bring any protection or anything when we went to the restaurant. And two people from my school showed up. And this place is like 30 minutes from our house, like 25.
It's not 30, it's like
25 minutes, like with the traffic there. And then by the time you get home, it's like you basically spent like 40, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we went all the way over there. They followed me there. They like killed me with the senior assassin thing. And then like I felt bad because the waitress was like sitting there and like she was like in their sight in the video. You see like she has to like move and
she
it's
like
really
ducks
funny.
Down and like heads away and I'm like, this is so random.
I know.
They tracked her to the restaurant.
Yeah, because it's like
crazy.
The app we use, how you can track like your target's location, but like you can't. It's like every 10 minutes. So they'd gotten like premium or something, and they were tracking my live location. And I think like my other friends, they've been following them, and then other people have also been doing crazy stuff. So I'm like, yeah, so that's kind of been my week. And I had to pick up my two friends like in the middle of the night, basically, to help them from being killed.
So my senior year, as we've kind of established in previous episodes, was during COVID. And so that didn't happen. Like, I think we tried like a senior prank or something, and it was like probably one of the lamest things that ever happened. Like, I don't even know what they did. Like, I don't remember.
Shut down the technology so we can't have school.
It was so stupid. And so it was a little different my senior year, but I'm glad that Yosa got to be able to do the normal senior year stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can buy back in, but I don't know if I want to. It's a little stressful, honestly. Like checking corners, wearing a float. Like the floaties look so stupid. So I'm like,
well, she bought them. Like we bought them, and I'm like, why are you? She's like giving it to her friends, and I'm like, return them.
Yeah, return when they're done using it.
Dishonesty, right? Younger siblings. If you're an older sibling, you understand how much your younger siblings like to be a little sneaky.
Anyway,
she's like, let's move on.
Let's move on. But no, just kidding. But kind of the first thing that we both kind of were discussing is really just the pressure of, having life and just everything figured out. Like, I feel like it's just so like pushed out that it's like, you should have everything figured out. You should know what college you're going to, what your job you're going to do after, what major you're going to do. It's like everything has to be planned. but like you don't have to know and like have every single thing to the fine, like the minute detail filed out, you know? And I feel like that's where stress and like mental health come into play, because it's like the reason all this is happening is because we're being told, yeah, you need to have this figured out. You need to know what college you're going to do. You need to get good grades, you know?
And that's not to say that you shouldn't have like a plan or an idea of a plan, or like, oh, these are the steps I'm taking to figure it out. But like accepting that like you don't need to have that like your 10-year, like we talked about in an episode, like what are our plans for the next 5 years in our life. You don't need to have that all figured out, like she was saying, to the minute detail. That is so unnecessary. That's so much stress that is going to cause problems in people's lives. And like it's okay to figure out some things on the way, but having plans are still super important. But I think the pressure of like always having a plan to the minute detail it's not necessary. And like you were saying, it causes mental health stress and anxiety and worry. And life is about figuring out things. And like even when you do have plans, right, it goes off the rail a lot of times. Like life does not happen the way we always think it's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, just like going along with that, it's just like just this unrealistic timeline of life of like I'm in high school, but like the whole first semester of the year was like, make sure you know where you're going to college, make sure you know where you're going, like make sure you do this, make sure you do that, like ACT, SAT, like are your grades good, like and it's like it's just like I feel like, and not that people mean it to be this way, but it's almost like everything has to be planned out, because that's just the way kind of like life has just become. Is it's like if you don't have a plan, you're screwed basically, right?
Which is in a way is true. Like it's really difficult, like to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to go through life without a plan. But what you're saying is so true. Like not like, especially in the application process for any school, it's like, oh, I need to make sure my grades are this, my entrance exam is this, my volunteering's here, my this is here. It's just like so much. And it's okay that like you're not able to accomplish everything like that. It's okay to take, like I was saying in the last episode, it's okay to take more time than the regular. I'm on the pre-med process, right? I'm planning on going to med school, and like the traditional route is when you graduate from college, you are like that next summer, or like so you graduate in May, right? And then that next August to September, or whenever your medical school starts, that's when you're supposed to be starting medical school. But a lot of my friends and I, we like have realized, no, we need more time to study the MCAT. We need that extra assistance, right? Or not assistance, but that extra time and that extra like level of stress to be diminished. And so we're starting medical school the next year and taking technically a gap year. And like that's an untraditional pathway. That's like not the norm, but it's okay. Like I'm going to be a doctor, the same kind of doctor that anyone else that started a year before me will. And it's okay that is happening the way it's happening.
Exactly. Like you have to be on your own timeline. You have to have the way that works the best for you, because it's like the struggle is a lot of the times people are telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that. This is the way to get the best MCAT score, the best ACT score. This is the way to get into Harvard. Like all this stuff they're telling you. But at the end of the day, it's like, not that they're always wrong, but it's like, maybe that's not what's for you. Maybe sitting there for 12 hours, like every other day, trying to like study this material isn't what's meant for you. Maybe it's, spreading out that process. Maybe it's finding a different way to study. Like, just like, I think, and a lot of the times it sucks, but it's like, it's other people that really do put the pressure on us, and just realizing that it's okay to not have to live up to like those expectations necessarily, and just live up to your own. It's like, that's all that really matters.
I agree. And I think along with that, like there is this fear of like failure, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's this fear that, oh, I'm not going to be able to accomplish whatever goals, whatever tasks that I have in place. And I think accepting that, and accepting that like trying new things, like we're talking about earlier, just like we're talking about how there's this unrealistic expectation, there's this pressure, and that with that pressure, it causes this fear of the unknown, the fear of trying to do new things. But I think that it's okay to try new things. It's okay to have that fear, but almost accepting that there is going to be fear in this life. There is going to be the fear of the unknown, but to go ahead and do like what you want to do, because who is going to stop you? Like, you have your own personal like agency and choice to do things. And I think that as human beings, if you have a goal and if you have a path that you want to accomplish, go ahead and do it. Don't let anyone stand in your way. Don't let yourself, I've talked about this before, don't let yourself stand in the way of accomplishing your goals, your dreams, your passions. And I think that just understanding that there's going to be fear and accepting that there is going to be fear in life.
Yeah, for sure. And just like, just from personal experience, just like noticing that like people won't do things because they're like afraid of like, oh, well, I'm afraid what this person will think. I'm afraid if this will happen. I'm afraid what these people will do. At the end of the day, and I know a lot of the times it's really hard, especially in school environments, to try and do things that you're not sure about because you don't know how others are going to react. You don't know how your life is going to turn out afterwards. But it's like when you do something, and yeah, if you end up failing, it sucks. But it's like, you only live once, and it's like, wow, I did that. Like, that's what I'm always telling myself when it's like, when I don't want to do something, when I think I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. But I'm like, you're going to regret this in like, who knows how many years. You're going to wish you did that one thing. You're going to wish you went to that one place or did accomplish that one thing or took that one risk that you never would have thought of, because it's just so much better to live without regrets than to live with regrets and just have them in the future and just be like, man, I could have done that, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like for me, like when you were just talking, it brought to my mind me transferring schools. So we've talked in previous episodes how I transferred my freshman year. I went to school in St. Louis, and then I transferred to a school in Texas. And that was unknown. Like already going to school and everything, being like going into college for the first time, that is also an unknown. Like it's my first time ever doing that. But then like I've been accepted into the school. I have these friends. I have this community, this environment I built, and like deciding to transfer from that school because of a lot of reasons was scary. Was unknown. It wasn't something that I had ever thought I would ever do.
Yeah.
And I had seen so many people like throughout my years of college that have been hesitant or have refused to transfer from their schools because of that fear. They didn't let themselves leave that unknown. And I think that is not a healthy way to live. And I have seen so many, blessings and so many positives from leaving St. Louis or leaving that environment that I was in and coming to a new one. And I think that when you overcome your fears, I can't think of a way that it would be negative, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
Like overcoming your fears, it's not going to be bad.
It's not going to be bad. I mean, unless actually, no, it won't be bad.
No,
I hope
it
won't be bad. Like, but like,
don't quote us.
Yeah, maybe don't like be like, oh, well, I heard from this one podcast.
Yeah.
But no, just like, don't be afraid of like, because it's scary, right? Like transferring is not easy. Going to a completely different place, a new environment, new people. But don't be afraid of like that scariness. Like, don't be afraid to enter into the unknown. Like, don't be afraid of like, oh, well, I don't know what lies ahead. Like, for me, like we've done sports all our lives, but like going to like that first new practice with a new team, new coach, whatever it is, it's always like not terrifying, but it's always like, oh, okay, I don't know how they're going to act. Who are they, like, what are they going to be like? What are the other kids going to be like? Or if it's a private lesson, like, how's the practice going to go? It's like this turmoil of, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to meet it. Do I want to just fall back to my old ways? Do I really need a new coach? Or do I really need a new experiences with new people? But it's like, after a while, you start to realize, like, oh my goodness, like, I needed this so much. Like, I wasn't afraid of being embarrassed or being rejected or like all these other things that come to mind when you're entering a new place. It was like, you were just thinking like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to get it over with. And when you do, it's like, that wasn't so bad. Overcoming your fears I hope for the most part is a good thing. And, when you do, it's like, I hope you have no regrets.
Yeah, I think that fear is a mindset. Like all those like podcasts with those guys, they're like, ugh, fear.
Fear is a mindset. Lock in at the gym. I'm
okay.
sorry, guys.
I didn't expect you to do that.
Well, not that people do that on podcasts. That's
no, they do though, but I didn't think you would.
Not that kind of podcast, but like on other podcasts, people do.
But I didn't think she would like actually reenact it. That was unexpected.
Just in case you guys are wondering what some of this.
We don't have any recommendations because we don't watch those podcasts. It's like when you're scrolling and then the random like two guys come up. You don't know who they are, and they just start spouting like nonsense, and they're like,
"Yeah, you need to lock in, bro. Like your life is," and you're like, "Oh, next."
And so it's just like I'm like, why is my algorithm giving me this? Yeah. I do not like this content.
No, literally. When your algorithm fails you.
No, for real. But in a way, fear is like a mindset thing, and it's something that I feel like we need to like overcome.
Yeah, you really do need to just get past it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm trying to think of like many, like the fear of like the unknown, right? We've been talking about this unknown of
Into
life.
The unknown. You guys know that song?
Yo, so are you a little tired today?
No. Wow, you didn't like my singing?
I mean, do you want to put singing on the internet?
It wasn't even a song. It was like a half of the verse.
A little trill?
A trill?
Is that the right word?
Okay, choir girl. Okay.
Right? It is a trill, right?
I don't know. I did 1 year choir.
Someone in the comment
grade.
section fact check me. Is that little Into the Unknown thing she did? Is that a trill?
I don't know. I think a trill is something else. Like, I think
Whatever.
That's a part. I don't know.
We don't know. We were not in choir. We were orchestra.
Actually,
kids.
I was in choir for 1 year.
Okay, I was in choir for like 2 years, but that was in elementary school. It doesn't count. We are getting sidetracked, Yosa. Fear is all about the unknown, right? I was talking about this unknown of me going to a new school and like transferring and that whole process. And I think that when you make a plan, because we were talking about earlier that like having a plan in a way, having ideas of a plan in a way is a way to succeed, in a way to get like, continue in the future and everything. And so I think that when you're trying to overcome fear, a lot of times, like one of the ways that you can do that is by literally just making a plan. Like one of the things I do in my life, it's a little too much and sometimes it doesn't work, but like I'll just like plan out my life. Or like if I'm trying to like do this task, I'm like, okay, let me plan this out. And in a way that actually makes the fear, sometimes it makes the fear even more, but sometimes but at least it gives me an idea of like what to expect. I hate going into things with no idea. I don't like that. I want to know what I'm getting myself into. And so sometimes like planning my life or planning my day or planning like, even sometimes this podcast, I'm like, okay, this plan. Doing that is able to like help me to not fear the unknown.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I'll say a little bit. I know, like I've said in previous episodes, I'm a very structured person. But I'm not much of a planner. Like, I plan things when it's necessary, like a birthday party, a hangout. But, like, I don't really plan out my, like, week, my day, anything, which can be sometimes harmful. But, like, a lot of I'm just a go-with-the-flow kind of person. If it happens, it happens.
But she gets everything done. It's, like, a little weird. I was talking about you today.
Like,
or not today. I was talking about you at work. So I work for a chiropractor, and before I worked for him, he was like our chiropractor. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess he still is. But we were on this topic or something, and I was like, yeah, no, my sister, like, we were talking about physical therapy. A lot of times people go into physical therapy and they don't do the exercises. But I was like, no, my sister is like the complete opposite. Like, you'll come home and she's just doing all the stretches. Like, and I kid you not, like, I'll walk in the room, it's like completely pitch black. And I just see her on the floor stretching. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm doing my physical therapy exercises that, like, the physical therapist or whoever assigned her those exercises she's doing. And I'm like, Wow.
I have to do
She's
them.
really on top of it. So she may not plan. Like that's kind of like where we're the opposite. Like I plan and then I don't do things. And Yosa doesn't plan, but she still does things. So
I don't even know
pick your
how.
poison.
I do set reminders though, so I feel like that's a little bit of planning. But like a lot of the times, like things will just happen. I'm like, all right, I gotta do this, so let's do it. Like I'm a go with the flow kind of person, but with structure. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but
I get that.
But you know, we're both different, but you know, we plan and you know we get things done, and you know we are the way we are. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
But I think kind of just a different perspective on this a little bit of like struggles that no one really talks about is like feeling lost and like you failed and like realizing it was a blessing. But the thing with that is not realizing it was a blessing until later. Because I feel like every time you're hearing like these stories of like, oh man, I was going through the hardest time in my life, but then this happened and it was so much better. Like it's great hearing that, but then it's like when you're in like the failure, when you're in the trial, when you're in the lowest point, it's like when is this gonna end? Like, oh my gosh, I'm drowning. And I feel like the struggles no one talks about is like really feeling like you're at your lowest point. Like no one really talks about like everyone always talks about the after part, you know. It's like, oh, we got over it, great job, team.
Or you will get over it. Like
yeah,
like almost like I feel like some of those advice videos, they like diminish the struggle. They diminish the process of like trying to get over something, or like the struggle of it. And they're just like, oh, at the end, this. But I'm like,
oh, this will be you at the end, and like your like life will be like great after, you know, the trial and the hardship. And like you're saying, like all these like and they're great videos, all these inspirational videos and messages will be like, you just got to keep pushing through, but like pushing through what, you know, like they don't talk about what you have to push through, about how it really does suck being at rock bottom. And I feel like we need to normalize that, and it's not talked about nearly enough at all. And I hate that, because it's like when you're in it, it's like, oh man, but then when you're out of it, you're like, yes, but then it's like someone else could be in that situation, you know?
Yeah, and that's not to diminish that like you have something to look forward to, because like in a way you want like to see like what is the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing, right? But sometimes when you talk too much about the end and not about in the moment, that can diminish both results, I think, in my opinion. So I think that for us, it's like there are struggles, there are things in life that we're all going through, and being able to talk about that throughout the whole process, from the beginning to the middle to the end. I mean, I think, speaking for both of us, I think it's so important, important.
For sure. And I honestly have I wouldn't say personal experience with this, but like feeling like you're at rock bottom and then realizing like, yeah, it's a blessing. But like when I broke my leg like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now.
The only one in this house.
Yeah, actually I broke my finger too. Which one? I can't remember.
What's wrong with your bones?
I don't know. Well, actually someone pulled my finger. It got caught in a flag football. So I pulled the thing and my finger twisted in the flag. And I heard that crack. My finger was stuck in this position for like,
I mean, I do remember your
2
finger
weeks.
being stuck like that. I didn't realize it got pulled.
Yeah, because I was pulling it and then got stuck, and then someone kept running. Oh, it felt awful. But yeah, I've broken 2 bones, and so I think like when I broke my leg, the problem with it was that it was like the height of my track season that year, and so I remember thinking like, oh, it's just shin splints, so it's just like, you know, it's something I can recover from in a couple weeks. But I ended up going to the doctor, like, yeah, you have, like, a fracture, actually. Like, you're going to be out for 6 months. And,
That's
like,
crazy.
And, like, from what I knew about broken legs, like, most of the time it was 2 to 3 months, you know, maybe 4. But it was where I'd gotten the fracture and how I'd gotten it that made the recovery process so long. And I was like, what do you mean 6 months? Like, that's my school season. That's my summer season. That's like off season. Like, I won't even have enough time to recover, to come back. Like, I'm going to need weeks, months. And I'm like sitting in this office. I'm like, do these people know what they're doing? Like, they're showing me the x-ray. It doesn't look that bad to me. Cause like The fracture is literally this big. Like the X-ray showed the fracture was this big, but the spot that it was at was just like if you kept running on it, your leg was sliced right in half. Like
Oh,
they showed me
wow.
a photo of someone's leg. I was like, oh, okay, I'll take the 6 months. But like just in that moment, it was so hard because I was on crutches too. And it was just so difficult to have to just literally rely on people for everything else. I couldn't carry my own backpack to class.
She was the elevator girl.
Yeah, I had to take the elevator. Like, someone always had to help me carry my stuff. Like, I could never just have my own food, just walk with my own stuff. And it was really hard and it sucked. But it was like, looking at it now, I needed that rest time. I think I'd been playing 3 sports at that point in time. I had a knee injury earlier. Like, I had so much stuff going on. And looking at it now, I didn't understand it then, but looking at it now, I'm like, I needed that break. And then I needed it at that time, too. Like, if it happened at any other moment, it wouldn't have been as devastating and as needed as much as it was. But, like, the fact that it happened when it did, how it did, it was a blessing in disguise, which sucks. It's like, oh, your broken leg was a blessing in disguise, but like at the end of the day, sometimes the worst things in life ends up being the things that are best for us, and that's not always true, but sometimes it is.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think that sometimes like we as people just try and take on so many things at once. Like that's something that I have had to like learn to like know for myself, that like you need to cut down sometimes on everything you're doing. Like you had said, probably one of the reasons that you got that injury is because you were doing 3 different sports at the same exact time. Like that is so hard on the body. And it's also the same with the mind. Like the mind obviously is a part of your body. And so sometimes when you have too many tasks, too many goals, too many plans, too many things in your mind and in your life, that like causes you to start breaking down. And I had noticed that actually with me last year, where I had so many different things. I was like studying for the MCAT and I was shadowing doctors. I was volunteering. Like I was driving to like 2 hours, an hour and a half from where I am to go like build beds for children. Like I was studying for school. I was taking very difficult biochemistry courses. And in the end, like everything kind of just crumbled.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely think part of the reason that things are the way they are now, not that it's all bad and everything, but I wouldn't have expected to start medical school next year instead of this year. And I think part of that is because I took on way too much last year and I just wasn't able to do it. And it was just to the point where I was like, I can't do anything. My brain is just fried. I'm tired. And like, it's like people would see me and they're like, I don't even know how you're like I literally had friends who were like, I don't even know how you're like
I don't
alive.
know how you were alive. You would go to bed at like 11, wake up at 3 a.m. to study, go to work, go to school.
Oh yeah, I was working.
I have no idea how you did that. Like I would look at you, I'd be like, me going to sleep at 10:30. I'd wake you up at like 8 o'clock and she's like, go to bed at 11, wake up at 3, go to work, come back, nap, school, lab.
It was really
and
bad.
I was like, no,
it was so bad. I don't overwork yourself. I'm speaking from experience. And so I think that I wish that I almost like had that advice before, that like, I don't need to do everything at one time. I can spread out things, and actually that would benefit me so much better.
Yeah.
And I think that like, I guess that's a sadder story because I still haven't seen like the positive of it yet. Mm-hmm. But something kind of like similar to your story of how like something happened, some failure happened, and like later on you were able to see positive results.
Yeah.
My sophomore year of college, I was in organic chemistry, and OChem is the class that everyone low-key hates. I personally liked it. Like, I know I could say that, right? I'm a chemistry major.
I know chemistry people that don't even like organic chemistry.
Well, I liked organic chemistry, and I know a lot of people that did too. But I really enjoyed this class. I was in a fun class with fun people, loved the professor. Mm-hmm. My first exam, I studied like pretty hard for it. And I was like, okay, I did so well. I was super proud of like after the exam. And then I get my exam result, and honestly, it wasn't even that bad. Like, in terms of like grades,
Say the number.
well, okay, things are weighted and things are like scaled.
Okay, say the raw score and then the curved score.
It was like a 70. Curved, it was an 80.
What?
Like, it was like a 70, 75 raw.
Without the, that's good.
I know.
Or, I mean, that's not. I thought you were gonna say a 20.
No. It was like raw score was like a 70, 75, which is actually, compared to other people in the class, that was like really good. But I was so upset. I was like, I should have done better. And looking at my exam, I was like, oh, I knew this. This was a dumb mistake.
Yeah.
And I was just so frustrated. And I was so mad. And I was like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
But then I realized, like, because of that failure, because of all of that, I was actually able to study better. I was actually able to work really hard. Mm-hmm. And on the final, I did super well. Like, I'm still really proud of myself because, like, that's such a hard class, and like I was able to do really, really well on the final. And
what'd you get on the final?
I believe it was it was like it's out of the hundreds, 247 out of 300.
Okay, I don't know what that is in my head, but great job.
No, it's a really good score, like really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm weighted on 100, so I'm like, out of 3.
Oh, you were weighted on the what?
Like, high school's out of 100.
Oh, yeah. Well, same with college, but like they do things in like the thousands. It's weird. You'll understand in a few months.
Yeah, in a couple actually, but. Yeah, you know, just both of our experiences just with, you know, like having things really just be down in the dumps and then realizing like, yeah, I'm still in the struggle or I'm still fighting through this, but it's like there is going to be a better way out of it. But like still talking about how things suck and not just bottling it up and hoping it's going to be fixed, you know, like just finding a way is so important. And just, you know, just everything we've talked about, you know, like there's just so many struggles that nobody wants to really speak about, and rightfully so. It's not easy to talk about how things suck in your life and you wish you could do this and you didn't do this and you do that, but it's like
it's necessary.
Exactly.
It's needed.
100%. And you know, we hope that you guys were able to take something away from this episode and you're able to relate to us a little bit.
Yeah, and make sure, if you're not already, follow us on any of the podcasting platforms. Make sure if you're listening or watching to this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And we're also like posting like our like short clips of this, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well. We're so happy that you guys were here. You matter, you're special, and we 100% care for you. And so thanks so much for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Okay,
right, bye.